Bases dropped. It's another go-round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. And it's our standard pack. That is off-center, and I don't know how that happened. Hang on. There we go. It's like everything's sideways for a second, but no. John, hear you there. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so whatever's on your mind, lay it on me. All right, here's the lay of the land as we always have it. Wednesdays, batting leadoff, it's Tyler Pilgrim from our friends over at Scarves N Spikes for the Atlanta United Informational Journalistic Exchange Program. We'll have Tyler in hour number one and break down everything from their show's perspective, from what you guys have been saying over the last handful of days after what happened in Philadelphia. We're getting ready for Orlando, and so we'll discuss everything going on in Tyler's universe over there at Scarves N Spikes. Dylan Butler joining us at 10 o'clock. I think he's out of spring break. I think it's safe. So we'll see if Dylan can hop on and join us and let us know what's going on in the Dylan Butler-verse. 10:30, Mike Gramajo. You might remember Mike from his time in Orlando at the Orlando Soccer Show. And then it was time in and around Orlando City. Now he's at WESH-TV in Orlando. And this is where we get our Oppo research on the purple team. And so Mike's going to join us at 10:30. We'll let you know what's going on in GHSA playoffs because we had those last night. That started, so I have my brackets. I hope you have yours. We'll get into that. And morning forecard, and we will catch up with Greg Garza, have a bit of the conversation that Jason had with Greg before we get out of here, talking about competitive stress. And if you missed that conversation in full, we'll play a little bit of it for you this morning before we get out of here. And then what we will do is we will let you know what our programming is like, because tonight it's the Twos and Carolina Core. We'll catch you up on that and brief you on that. Once again, 7:33 kick, 7 o'clock pregame. You're going to hear from Steve Cook. You're going to hear from Ronan Wynn. There's going to be, I believe, the Box to Box with Ryan Carmichael's going to be on the show, and we'll get you ready for Twos and Core tonight on soccerdownhere.mixler.com. That is going to be 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick. Maddie and Jason, possibly Jarrett Smith will be up there for that one, and we'll let you know what's going on. We'll go over what happened last night in the high school action, get you ready for what's going on today. Soccer's in session is at noon. Don't know how long we'll go today. We got an hour and 15 minutes yesterday because it was round number one. Set to join us, it is Will Homskis, the girls head coach at Lincoln County. We might get his tag team partner, Coach Hayslip, to drop by and find out what's going on the boys' side. Both teams, by the way, once they're done with their appearance on Soccer's in Session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, Soccer's in Session, their session's going to end about 12:15. They're both hopping on buses. They're both coming to Atlanta. They're both heading in different directions. So if I remember this correctly, the girls' team is going from Lincoln County, and they're going to take on Elite Scholars, I believe. They're going to take on the Elite Scholars Academy, who are ranked number 8 in the scoreboard poll in Class AD2 at Morrow High School, Steel Road Stadium. The boys are going to travel to Silverbacks Park, and they are taking on, if I remember correctly, Atlanta Classical. So it is number 8 versus number 10 on the boys' side, Class AD2. But because Lincoln County is team 3 in their area and Atlanta Classical is team 2, Lincoln County travels. So the boys travel to Atlanta Classical, 5 o'clock kick at Silverbacks Park. Girls travel to Morrow High School to take on Elite Scholars Academy, 5 o'clock kick, and then that's Lincoln County and Elite Scholars. So it's a busy day for them. That's just what's going to happen at 12 o'clock. Then after that, we catch up with Bobby Jaworski at GMC Prep and get his thoughts on the season so far. Then at 12:30, it is Dr. Nathan Dooley. He is the head coach of the boys and the girls teams at Perry, and they have a busy day because they've got the doubleheader at Perry taking on Druid Hills. So that's what we've got lined up for you in Soccer's in Session today. Tomorrow, it looks like Brian Lawson from Jeff Davis. Also looks like it might be Heather Richardson joining us from Social Circle. I have to email Heather and remind her if I haven't done that already. So somewhere around 12:20, we'll have her, and then Jeremy Moore from Toombs is going to be joining us at 12:45 tomorrow. kicking off the Friday show, it's going to be Coach Pettit from Callaway, and we'll find out what's going on because he's the coach of both of the programs there, and we'll find out about their programs starting our action off on Friday. All the brackets, all the things. We're trying to line up our games. I know that we have some in the spot shadow for both today and tomorrow. Set your notifications for all of your social media when it comes to us here at SDH, whether it is on the 280 character app, whether it's on the IG, whether it's on the face space, or however you get your notifications. Lay it all out for us, and then that way you can figure out where we're going to be when we figure out where we're going to be. So once again, download the Mixlr app, MIXLR, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. I'm hoping in a perfect world that we'll have both channels running today because the high school game that we have pegged that we have to solidify is running right up against the broadcast for the twos. So the twos will be on the lead channel, and on the deuce will be our high school match if we can get it all squared away, and it'll be late afternoon kick there. So that'll lay it out for you. That's our day of programming. So here, soccer's in session at noon. Core and the twos at 7, and a high school game. We're aiming for late afternoon, but we'll keep you posted. We've got an idea where we want to go. Okay, Tyler's going to join us in a couple of minutes. So morning Pars, morning Rich, morning New York Jet 3. As you get closer to draft day, New York Jet 3. And so that's it's going to be an interesting draft day for New York Jets. But New York Jet 3, first time here, welcome. So if you have been watching, or if you might kind of drift into the show for the first time, 9:05 until 11 whenever is when we are. And we talk about everything in soccer. Yeah, we're based in the Southeast, but that doesn't mean that we're a Southeast soccer show. So we do have Atlanta United's kind of our hammer, and soccer in the Southeast is kind of where we are, regardless of level and what we're talking about. But we talk about everything going on overseas. We talk about everything going on in Major League Soccer, and we talk about everything that's on your mind when it comes to the sport. So just because we're based in Atlanta doesn't mean we're just an Atlanta soccer show. But no, looking forward to today as well. And before Tyler joins, I had this particular story that came across the bow, and I was like, really? And so, yes, it is a yes, really. And I'll see if I can find it because I think the stories may have recycled. Where is it? So of course the story disappears. It's like, you have a story that you want to have to talk about here for opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And I can put the QR code up here for a second to kill some time. Yeah, a little bit more work. Okay, so design and come down, and here we go. All right, so there's your Kickoff Coffee QR code. So hit that QR code, and you can get your day started with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So once again, you do that. I'm trying to find this story. There we go. Okay, I did find it. Got it. And okay, so you start your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. When you check out, don't forget to use that QR code in the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%. Reinvest it in the youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There you go. Okay. Now, take this for what it's worth, considering the source. It comes from our friends at The Mirror. And you're sitting there going, The Mirror, are you serious? And I go, yeah, I am to a degree, considering just how ludicrous this particular piece of frivolity is. So I saw this and I had to mark it. I found it. So Anthony Wood at The Mirror. The U.S. Soccer Federation has been hit, and this is Anthony's words. The U.S. Soccer Federation has been hit with a remarkable lawsuit in the Southern District of New York, driven by one fan's frustration with the women's national team. The lawsuit submitted 2 weeks ago by scorned viewer Michael Butzbaum has accused the U.S. Soccer Federation of, quote, fraudulently communicating and making false claims to the federal government of the United States of America for money and incorrectly spending such dollars, end quote, when he believes they had no genuine intention of winning the contest. Yes, I'm serious. Tyler's outside, so we'll bring Tyler in to talk about this. Where are you, sir?
Front porch.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
You got
relaxed.
I was gonna say you got booted out of your own studio space.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm in the middle of this particular stories here, and I just it's opening kickoff, and I needed to have your input on this. So, lawsuit submitted 2 weeks ago by scorned USWNT viewer Michael Bucksbaum has accused the U.S. Soccer Federation of fraudulently communicating and making false claims to the federal government of the United States of America for money and incorrectly spending such dollars when he believes they had no genuine intention of winning the contest. It is worth noting, and this is once again the Mirror writing back in, that per U.S. Soccer, they're a classified 501c3 nonprofit, which does not receive any government funding whatsoever. The game in question took place on February 26 and saw the WNT lose 2-1 in the She Believes to Japan. The result sealed the title for Japan and second place for Emma Hayes' side. Bucksbaum's lawsuit is looking for U.S. soccer matches to be pulled from the airwaves and for all wagering on games to be halted pending the litigation of this complaint and request for injunction. What's more, the plaintiff also wants the U.S. Soccer Federation to disclose to him full and complete financial information regarding revenues, salaries, expenses, health insurance, and post-employment lifestyle benefits. Bucksbaum is also pushing for the U.S. Soccer Federation to not accept foreign money for playing the game of world football. However, the most eye-watering demand being sought is just shy of $100 million in damages for Bucksbaum, all stemming from his belief that Hayes' side was, quote, not trying to win a game. And She Believes. The U.S. lost at Snapdragon. They're only defeating 3.
What?
Yes. Vastly. Yeah. So, roster had an average of 24.9. It was one of the youngest sides that they've had in quite some time. So it was an inexperienced group. But this dude decided that he wants to sue the U.S. Soccer Federation because of the USWNT apparently fraudulently spending U.S. dollars when they're a 501c3. And he thinks that they basically tried not to win She Believes Cup on purpose.
Okay. And that and that may be not likely. But where does he come into this whole situation? Like, why does he think he's entitled to any kind of financial compensation for any of this?
This to me sounds like an individual, and I'm just going to sit here since I don't do tea and I do Mountain Dew, and I'm going to do it with my pinky up here for a second. Yes. This to me sounds like an individual, and I have no information one way or the other to solidify this particular opinion. This is just conjecture on my part. That this particular individual, Michael Bucksbaum, I assume Esquire, perhaps, maybe, might have had some.
Doesn't deserve it.
No, but Mr. Bucksbaum, I'm guessing, might have had some juice boxes on this particular match and came out on the wrong side of his juice box wager. And so because he is now stomping his feet, he has decided, much like Doug Llewellyn tells us on the People's Court, you get, don't take a matter into your own hands. You take them to court. And so my guess is Mr. Bucksbaum decided to go on the minus side or whatever the number was. If the U.S. was a plus, and She Believes because of the youth of the roster, he might have had a particular opinion that he wagered some financial remunerations on, and he might not have come out on the hot side that he was looking for. And so now he's like, I'm raging, rawr, and so I'm going to take you to court because you didn't win, and it looked like you were stacking your team not to win in She Believes Cup, rawr. That's my guess.
That is absurd.
Yeah.
That is so ridiculous. I mean, that, first of all, did you watch that game?
No, I left that to Bart.
That one was, if anybody knows anything about the U.S. women's national team and then the Japan women's national team, that is a true rivalry.
Yes.
Japan has tried so hard over the past 15 years.
Yeah.
To emulate exactly what the U.S. have done with the women's national team, and they've done a very good job of it. I mean, they take exactly what the U.S. has done well, and they try to put their better spin on it, and they came out on top in a tournament that, I mean, wasn't the women's national team's best showing. Like, it is what it is. So if all of this was some grand scheme
Yes.
to throw a game, they were playing some serious 4D chess to make it look very realistic. So if there is anything to Mr. Bucky, whatever,
Mr. Bucksbaum,
his claim,
yes,
then I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for finding it. I don't know. That's just wild to me, man.
Yeah, well, like I said, considering that it came from the Mirror, take it with a grain of salt and what they traditionally do with their particular stories and storylines. But yeah, I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight, sir. Like I said, we're missing the first half of this, but the second half of this is being okay. So you're mad they lost the game against Japan in She Believes Cup, where Emma Hayes is kind of working on the USWNT's own ish and doesn't really care. And like, she cares, but if they do their best and they don't win, then they don't win. Because she's working 4D chess, man. She's got stuff that she's got to think about later, and she's working on that now. And so if you take the second half of this and you take Mr. Bucksbaum's alleged complaint, which I'm fairly certain is going to be thrown out of court very, very quickly in the Southern District of New York. All right, so what would be missing here from the second half of this? To me, the first half of this would be Mr. Bucksbaum quoting Derek, lost his ecto coolers in this particular instance. And I'm guessing that he had his ecto coolers in the front of the fridge, put the ecto coolers on the U.S. against Japan, lost his ecto coolers, and now he's hot. Just saying.
It's going to be really funny when
Discovery phase
goes to court. Yeah, and all of a sudden Discovery happens, and it's like, oh, that was a lot of money you put on FanDuel or whatever it was.
Yeah, so we will not be paying attention to this particular lawsuit as it works its way through the Southern District of New York. But with that particular story, I was like, yeah, I got to share this with everybody and let the class know just how completely and totally ridiculous folks.
$100 million?
Sure, why not?
Is what he's asking for, like, for himself?
I'm guessing, yeah.
Dude, the fact that you can sue anybody in this country for anything blows my mind.
Yeah.
$100 million, man.
Yes, absolutely true. Yes, not wrong. But yeah, it's like, well, see, well, I have this alleged picture in my head of the gentleman. Okay, so he's probably in his viewing room, and or man cave. He's watching the result happen in real time. I don't know what the state of his particular video transmitter was like after the match itself, but you know how folks, you'll see on social media, like on the Insta, the IG, or the Gram, or whatever the kids call it. Dude gets mad and he's got the TV that's on the wall, mounted on the wall. And you sit there.
Philadelphia Eagles fan a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so you take Philadelphia Eagles fan a couple of years ago. You had a baseball bat, or you sit there and you punch it or whatever. I imagine that's what might have happened inside this gentleman's alleged man cave or viewing habit. And so you have that particular event happen. I'm mad. What am I going to do about it? I lost my ecto coolers. I'm going to get my ecto coolers back. I'm going to take them to court. I remember what Judge Wapner and Doug Llewellyn told me when I was growing up. I'm going to court for $100 million because I'm mad at the WNT. Could you imagine? Could you imagine, say, Emma Hayes on the stand in the Southern District of New York if this case is put out there and it's like, I'd like to call to the stand Emma Hayes, please. Emma Hayes, Miss Hayes, would you please put your right hand on the Bible, left hand in the air? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me God, I do. You're ridiculous. Just something like that. Yeah, just have Emma Hayes just go off from the stand. It's like, what were you thinking? What were you doing? We're a 501. If JT Batson comes up, JT Batson on the stand. We're a 501c3, sir. What's that? JT Batson opens up a book. It's like, legal.
Or Google.
Yeah, opens up the Google machine on his phone right next to the judge. Sits there, 501c3, the Google machine. He just sits there and he goes like, bang, right here. this is a 501c. I'll read you from the Google, sir. You have this kind of moment in court. So, yeah, I just could you please get this into discovery phase? Could this could this please continue to be a waste of time for the American taxpayer in the Southern District of New York, where this guy wants $100 million? And Rich makes the point that he'll lose most of the winnings and the lawyer's fees anyway. That's 30% out the door, I think, at the beginning. So he's down to 70. Anyway, like I said, I saw that story this morning, and I'm like, yeah, I got to bring this one to the table. So, hi.
Hi. Coming in hot. I like it. Lawsuits.
It's a wall past Wednesday. You know how it goes. So you decided to air your grievances out into the ether this morning. Yeah, you're outside.
I am. Yeah, I had to get some fresh air if we're going to talk about Atlanta United this weekend.
Yeah, I figured as much. So, what has the vibe been like over at SNS with what went down in Philly? I imagine it's been the same way here, but I wanted to get the Venn diagram of response here with you here on the program this morning. So, what's the vibe been like?
I think
other than pissdom.
Well, yeah, pissed off for sure, and I think a lot of folks are moving more from being like disappointed but still slightly hopeful to more pissed off and not as hopeful, and which is fair. I mean, you go and look at this team, and it's not just the way that they played, right? It's not just how they played after Philly went down a man. It's just kind of the mentality throughout, and especially after, you get punched in the nose, and it's just there's some concern there that like the heart just isn't showing the way that it needs to, and that Dyla hasn't necessarily been able to pull that kind of fight out of them, and it's frustrating because like seeing the way Dyla interacts with the players and seeing kind of how he handles himself, at least in the limited amount that we get to see him. I mean, if he can't get this team to show some passion, like true passion, I don't mean like, 5 minutes here and there. I mean, like, going in and we talk about the challenges and making people, be kind of afraid to play against them and et cetera, et cetera. If he can't pull that out of this team with what we've seen him trying to do, I don't know what else you can do for this group. And I mean, I hate to sound so negative, but there needs to be more than one Brad Guzan in that locker room. And when you see guys like, Noah Cobb stepping up and having his conversation, and we know that Noah Cobb is going to be a leader on this team one day, or a leader somewhere one day. But it just feels like there's not enough of the quote unquote veterans stepping up to try to rally this team, even when the crap is really, really down like it is right now. And to be fair, I say all that, you're 9 games in, the season's not lost, the season's not over, but it is a very frustrating moment for Atlanta United fans right now. And that's kind of been the vibe, over in the Discord and just the chats and all. Like, you started off with such high hopes, and it just isn't coming together yet. And for all the progress we saw very early on, it kind of seems like the eye test kind of seems like that progress has stalled a little bit. And, it's discouraging, I think, is kind of where the fans are at.
Yeah. And, when you have, and this is completely and totally expected, when you have folks like Jay and Noah, who were the players that were interviewed after the match in Philly, and they've come up through the system. I mean, it is, we all remember Noah as a 15-year-old playing in USL Championship, going up against Cameron Lancaster and basically winning the stare down. It's like, okay, bro, is that all you got? You coming at me? That's fine. You're twice my age. I don't care. We've seen the maturity and the growth in his game over time. We've seen the growth and the maturity in Jay's game over time. And when you have those younger players that are stepping up, and they're not afraid to lay it out there. I mean, and there are players that we talk to on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, that will sit there and the move that we see, player scores a goal and it's always the, you're grabbing the crest and you're doing this. You know that when Noah and Jay are talking, it is about grabbing the crest, and they get it. And so to have that kind of fire, the homegrowns, are bringing that fire every single time out. And there are some players that we talk to that have that same kind of fire. And it's trying to translate that and show that for the big guns and everybody else that we see on a match day basis, to show that, Kyrie, as you say, not just in 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, first 20 minutes, and then it goes away, but in that full 90 and that 60 minutes that you're not seeing it is the part that folks right now are locked in on, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and there's only one way really to turn that around. I mean, I think there's like things that you can do, right? Like we talk about, Jay and Noah being the ones that talked after this match, and to be completely fair and transparent with the entire process, like away matches, um, it's kind of a coin toss in terms of like how players are gotten, to talk and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
I think after a game like this, knowing the rough patch that you're going through, that is when you need one of your DPs to say, you know what, I'm going to go address the media, or one of your veterans to say, I'm going to go address the media. Like, I need to show that I'm a leader. I need to show that I'm here to live and die by this badge, like you talked about. And you're just not seeing that. I mean, you can't throw Braguzin into the Wolves every time something goes bad. You can't throw Brooks Lynn into the Wolves every time something goes bad. It needs to be, your Latte Lots. It needs to be your Miggies. It needs to be your Alexi Miranchuks. So I think that right there would be just a showing of goodwill, that like at least there is some care. And I'm not saying that these players don't care,
right,
but the perception that's out there right now is that it just feels like they don't. And that's fair for the fans to feel that way, because I mean, Mike and Jason even mentioned on the broadcast when I went back and listened, like after I think the second goal, Mike was going on about how like the body language of some of the players, it was just poor, and he's not wrong. Like it's not what you want to see. I get it from a player's perspective. It's just like everything just keeps going wrong, and like that can be incredibly demoralizing. But I mean, you've got to rise above it. You've got to step up and consider all the circumstances, the fans that you have that showed out, on to an away game, the badge that you're playing for, the community that you're playing for, the home field, quote unquote, advantage that you have back home, that you get to come back to. Those are the things that you got to remember when it comes time to go through the crap. And right now they're going through the crap, and it's not to say they can't get out of it, but you also can't lose. I don't want to say lose the fan base. You're not going to lose the fan base, but you're definitely running the risk of causing a lot of the fan base to just once again not care for a while.
And I know that a lot of folks, rightfully so, are locked in on the time when you had the man advantage, and Philadelphia had the same number of shots that Atlanta United did. And Nick has made the point in our production chain that if there is a team that is that pursues their 90 minutes the way that Philadelphia does, with the pressing, with the Red Bulls light that Bradley Carnell does, or however you want to phrase it, that for them to continue to do that and be just as successful in the timing that they had when they were a man down, that means that the team that has the man advantage clearly isn't responding the way that they should. That means that there is someone in that man advantage that isn't responding in kind to reinforce that man advantage. And I think that folks have locked in on that, where Philadelphia had the same amount of output that Atlanta United did, and it seemed like Atlanta United was trying to find an answer, and they weren't finding it. However, they were trying to approach it with that man advantage when Lukic went out with the second yellow.
Yeah, which I think kind of speaks to the overall like kind of identity style issue that Atlanta is running into right now. And Dax McCarty kind of mentioned it last week when he was on with us about like how, it seems more and more like this team is more suited for a counterattacking transition style of play as opposed to necessarily building up out of the back. And he even talked to some of his experiences last year. And you know, we've seen it with players with the mistakes building out of the back, and you're going to make those mistakes when you build out of the back. But all that can be forgiven if you are then going and scoring goals to counteract any mistakes that you do make. But then when you look at this, the 11v10 scenario, you know, I mean, you go look at football, college and NFL. You have, you know, 2-minute drills. You have things like that. A red card drill or 11v10, whatever you want to call it, drill is something that, you know, I think some coaches harp on a lot more than others.
Yeah.
Because admittedly, it's not the most common thing for you to be in that situation, right? Red cards, as much attention as we give them, are still relatively rare, you know, in soccer. So, but you can tell when a team knows what they want to do identity wise, and you can tell when you have a team that has focused on those types of drills, playing a man down, playing a man up. Because a good team, when they're up a man, is going to look infinitely better. And a good team, when they're down a man, is going to show why they're as disciplined and why they're as well coached as they are. And Philly, you know, for all the maybe crap that they got for a couple of games part of this Atlanta one, they've been playing very well this year. They started off really well. They have had a good run. And they know what they want to do. And they do it for 90 minutes, you know, come hell or high water. And I think that's the issue that you're seeing with Atlanta right now is you kind of don't know what you're going to get. I think Dyla's changes that he's made, his subs have been effective, at least in changing up the flow of the game to kind of help out in most cases. But like at this point right now, it just feels like the way that he's trying to push them to play is not taking advantage of their strengths. And so then when you go down, or I'm sorry, when you go up a man and you still get walked over, it kind of highlights some of those deficiencies a lot more.
And now you're having to do it without a couple of folks for the next couple of matches because we found out word from Doug Robertson of the AJC et al. Means that Stian Gregerson out for a couple of weeks, and it is I think it's a hamstring or a quad, something in that muscle group for Stian.
More quads.
And so it's quads with Stian and an adductor muscle strain with Tristan Muyumba. And so that means that you are looking at the next couple of matches, and it's going to be Purple Team, it's going to be Nashville. And as I sit here and go fumbling for the schedule quickly, you know, you're going to have at least 3 weeks without Stian on your back.
Austin maybe after that or something. I can't remember.
Hang on, I'm grabbing the schedule. So you're going to have the matchup this weekend at the Purple Team. You're going to have the home match against Nashville, and then after that at Chicago. Then even after that, it's another quick turn where you have 3 matches in a week with at Chicago, at Austin, back home against Philadelphia, 10, 14, and 17. So you're coming into this stretch of the next 5 where it's 5 matches in how many days in this month? 30. So roughly 21 days, you're going to have the next 21 days, you're going to have 5 matches involving Atlanta United. 3 of those matches on the conservative end, you're not going to have Stian at the back, and you're not going to have Tristan in the midfield. And Tristan has been one of those players that Ronnie Dyla has been absolutely high on this season. And Tristan seems to have adapted to what Ronnie wants him to do, where Tristan gets to be that imaginative player that we know he wants to be, and also dial it back and come back on defense and help you out. No Tristan and no Stian next couple of weeks, and it could be a messy 3 weeks with these 5 matches of schedule compression and injuries and all that stuff.
And then you got to add in, at least for the very near future, next week or this coming weekend, you're missing Latte Life as well.
Right.
Quick sidebar on that. I want to see. I would love to see Cayman Togashi get a start. I want to see him get some time, and that's nothing against Jamal Tiare. but I fully expect if Jamal Tiare goes out and plays 70 minutes, he's going to get injured again. It just seems to be the way that it goes with him. I hope not, because I would like to see a consistent Tiare, because I feel like every time he gets rolling, something happens. But I want to see Togashi. As far as Muyumba and Stian, for that matter, I mean, thankfully those are two positions where you do have depth. I mean, put Noah Cobb back in. I'm not worried about that at all.
Right.
Because if even if he doesn't have the best technical game, he's going to go out there and put in a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And then as far as the midfield, I mean, hey, just on that same note, throw Jay in. Let Jay have. Now the left wing thing was a little odd. I get, he's definitely played it before.
I know, but the way I look at it is when you see a graphic, don't take the graphic for
Right.
how things are going to be. So, and this is something that that I always will remind folks: just because you see something is what it looks like in a formation, because Opta says so, doesn't mean that Opta and Ronnie Dyla will sit there and have a handshake, and Ronnie's down Opta and going, Opta, Opta, Opta. This is how it's going to be. So it might be that way at the whistle, but then how the game evolves isn't necessarily going to mean that the players are in static locations.
Yeah, and I think with that, talking about the ones that are out, what I would really like to see, if I were Ronnie Dyla for a day, would be, I mean, obviously you just drop in Noah at the back, drop in Jay in the midfield, and then if depending on if you're going to have Miranchuk at the 10 or whatever, you kind of need to change it up a little bit, and I think you do need to focus on some counterattacking football. Orlando this year has been pretty stout. They started off a little shaky, but they were also scoring goals, and now it's kind of like evened out to where they just keep clean sheets, and things aren't really fun to watch for them. But I think even without Latte Lot, you have guys. Jamal's fast, Gaman Togashi's fast, like sneaky fast.
Yes.
And so you're going to need to rely on Miggy a lot in this game. And the way that Miggy is going to ultimately do his best work is by beating people in a foot race, because he's still one of the fastest guys out there. And that's on the ball with speed on the ball. And so absorb pressure. Let Jay be that guy that, can not so much be focused on playing out of the back, though he can do that, but also just help distribute, help move the ball quickly up the pitch, because he's got legs on him. He can make the runs, he can make the passes. Noah Cobb's, long ball is nothing to scoff at. I'm not saying change the entire identity of the team for this one game, but I think you do need to adjust a little bit. And I would like to see that coupled with just a lot more fight than we saw against Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think that your second point, I know that a lot of the 17s are looking at that. So you're looking at, all right, so workshop this with me. So if you're plotting an 11, it's Brad. So you're looking what? Pedro, Luis, Noah, Brooks, Jay, Bart, Miranchuk, Saba, Miggy, and Togashi. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah,
here?
that's what I would run with, and I would. Again, the left wing is always going to be the big question mark. How you use it. I mean, if you're going to play in this kind of formation, quote unquote,
yeah.
I mean, you have to have a left wing. You have to have somebody that's a threat over on that far left-hand side to counteract everything else going on the right, and guys cutting in from the right and everything else. So, I would even.
And is it Saba inverted, where Saba's on the left and Miggy is your right, and Miggy comes in on his stronger left foot, and Saba can come in on his stronger right foot, or at least to start before you start switching and finding open space?
I mean, I think that's definitely an option, because again, if you're trying to be transitionary, then you can focus a little bit more on, just letting them run, as opposed to trying to build up down the wings, which is where, when Saba's on the left, they've had a little bit of a struggle. So I think, but if you can just let them loose, let them use their speed, that's definitely an option. Or the other option I will say is if Tiara is good for the majority of the match, you put him up top and you put Togashi on the left, which is a position that he's had a little bit of time over in Japan. So the thing is, with that left wing spot, if you're not going to play Luke Brennan, who I think needs a chance, then you've at least got to try something else with some other players, because Mosquera's coming back. He's not quite ready yet. Sean De Silva has been, kind of up and down over there. Luke Brennan, is going to give you fight for as long as he's on the pitch. We know that for a fact. He's probably also going to offend somebody's, ancestors or whatever, which is great.
So he's going to give you fight, and then he's probably going to want to make you fight him, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Which, hey, get in their head. I love it. But I think realistically, if we stick with kind of what we've seen from Dyla, I think the lineup that you just said would be the most likely, minus I just don't see him using Togashi as much as I would like for him to.
Right.
But then I mean, we can go into so many other scenarios as well.
All right.
Take Slish out. You drop Miranchuk back to be that central midfielder who is his job is to spray the ball out to Miggy, Saba, whoever's up top, like whatever. I mean that's definitely an option, even if you do it for part of the game, right? Because the changes in this game are absolutely going to be crucial. Like Dyla's going to have to get the subs right. So you see how the first half goes, how Orlando lines up, see how they play, and then you make adjustments halftime if you need to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I just want to see something a little different out of this team, because it seems like the way that they've been trying to play for the past handful of matches, it has its moments, like glimpses of like, oh, this is really going to work, but then they're not capitalizing on it. But then you go back and you look at the Philly game, which just overall it just wasn't good. There wasn't much to be positive about,
right,
unfortunately. And so I think, this is an away game against a rival. You need to build it up as that, but you need to go into the match prepared, I think, to try something a little bit different.
Went to our friends over at Transfermarkt and got the numbers on Togashi-san. Center forward, so 188 matches he has played in his career, 171 he has been center forward. He's been a right midfielder in 15, and he has one appearance as a second striker and one appearance as a left winger. So 171 out of 188, he's been center forward, and one other match as a second striker. So that's Togashi-san's breakdown of where he's been positionally when it comes to attacks and lineups. So, but yeah, so then let me apply with the lineup that we're looking at. You mentioned Luke Brennan. What if we apply the Fast Eddie philosophy, where whomever's out there on one of the wings gives you 60 minutes or 70 minutes and runs like hell, and then you bring in the Larry Bird of MLS trash talkers in Luke Brennan and have him run for 20 or 30 against tired legs in Orlando against the purple team?
I like it. I would almost reverse that though, because it is a rivalry game. Let Luke Brennan go out there and start talking crap from the opening whistle. Get them nice and pissed off. And then when, tired legs are happening and Orlando's nice and infuriated, then you bring in whoever else to just go at it. Either way, I think it works either way. But I think we've actually seen, was it in the playoffs last year, Luke came in against Orlando?
All right. I think that's correct. Let me
immediately started getting under people's skin.
No.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, this is a big surprise.
That never happened. What I would love, although I know it would probably never happen, is that if during a practice you put a mic on Luke, and just to see how he just runs his mouth in practice and how he gets after everybody's skin, and then apply that to a game day, where if he's wearing a mic on a game day and he's trying to get past folks and you hear all the gnat sound and everything, I think Luke on a recorded microphone, just to hear the trash talk and to hear how he runs through a match, I think that would be absolute gold. to hear that kind of stuff.
100%. 100%. But the thing is, you can't tell him he's being mic'd up.
No.
That's the thing.
Well, but it's like, okay, well, by the way, Luke, you need to wear this large rectangle here.
Just sneak a lapel mic.
Yeah, what's this? Oh, don't worry about it, Luke. Just go ahead and, or man, my tracking device feels a little clunky today. What's going on? Don't worry about it. It's okay. Everything's fine. It's a little something we've added, and then you have that kind of absolute gold that you would have with Luke. I think that if you have never, if you go to a twos match, let's just say you go to a twos match, and what you do is you look at Luke. If you focus on Luke, and if you can find a way to listen to Luke during a match, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. By the way, 80 appearances for Luke in all comps, and it is 41. So I need more details. So it's like 41 in MLS Next Pro. I need performance by competition. I need location by competition. I don't need performance by competition. Come on. It only gives me the 2 matches that he had for Atlanta United. It doesn't give me the so it's like left midfield, right midfield.
Well, while you look that up, I'll give you a quick story about Luke. Last year, this is before the 2024 season, or right before, we had an interview with Noah Cobb on the podcast, and it was one of those where they were, I think at the time, they were down in, were they in Mexico last year? Did they go to Mexico last year? Wherever they were at camp. And so he goes back to his hotel room, gets on laptop, whatever, and he's having this chat with us. And he was rooming, didn't know this at the time, but he was rooming with Luke Brennan. Luke Brennan had no idea that he was recording. And near the end of the interview, you hear the door open and you hear Luke Brennan come in and immediately starts talking crap to Noah Cobb. I mean, just running his mouth. And Noah's over there like gesturing, like I'm on a call. You hear Luke like had no idea, but then he starts dying laughing, and he just like disappears out of the hotel room.
Luke just disappeared in the ether. Okay, so
that's what he does.
47, 52 matches total, 25 as a right midfielder and 15 as a right winger. So 40% of 40 of his matches, and he actually has 4 at right back in his time. So legitimately, so 44 matches he's had appearances on the right-hand side out of 52. So 44 out of 52, he's been on the right-hand side in some fashion, 3 as a center forward, 3 in left midfield, and 2 as left wing. But most of the time, 44 or 52 appearances professionally been on the right-hand side, whether wing, midfield, or at right back in a pinch. So that's your Luke Brennan moments. Today is transfer deadline day, at least transfer deadline day A in Major League. Are you anticipating any moves, period? Whether it is, I'm not anticipating an Atlanta United move today, but how busy a day are you anticipating when it comes to transfer deadline day? Is it just going to quietly go by?
I kind of feel that way. Like I feel like you might have 2 or 3, and I see like I'm talking about Noah Buck is kind of more or less finalized. We kind of saw that one coming.
Revs West, otherwise known as San Jose. Tommy Scoop says New England's going to get $600,000 and $50,000 in add-ons in the deal. New England gets a 20% sell-on as well. So good business by New England. If you don't,
it's pretty solid.
No Buck hanging around. So there you go.
But yeah, I mean, besides, I'm like you. I don't expect anything at all with Atlanta. That's not to say that there wasn't interest, possibly, but Garth Lagerwey and the front office, they're not going to be that team that even when things aren't going well, they just resort to moving players willy-nilly and at the wrong price. So yeah, I don't see anything happening with Atlanta as far as the rest of the league is concerned. There are plenty of moves out there that I think, at least positionally, could make sense, but I just don't know that any are going to necessarily get done. But I mean, I got to give credit, where it's due. Like we talk about Gazdag and Columbus and all that. I think that was like, again, that's not deadline day, but that was a move that made sense for Columbus and maybe didn't make as much sense for Philly, but at the same time, whatever. They just beat Atlanta 3-0. So, but no, I think moderately slow today.
Okay.
Very long answer to your question.
Nothing wrong with that. So what is planned for tonight on SNS in the midweek?
So this week and next week are kind of run together. We have for tonight, Brian Dunseth. He's going to be hopping on right at 7, and that was kind of like that was one of those that kind of worked out last minute. And then tentatively, like our annual, it seems like, chat with Parkey is we're going to do like a recording and release that probably on Thursday. So obviously he's with y'all quite often.
Yes.
And I'll try to ask him some different things, get some different insights and opinions and everything else. I'm also I always like catching up with him about Rhode Island as well.
Yes.
It was always good to hear. So
yes, they've got they got a title sponsor, and they've got a bunch of things going on up there at Tidewater Landing. Yeah, I think that we're going to be roped into a trip at some point to go up there and see what's going on at the new barn, as the kids say.
It looks like it's going to be a really cool spot for sure.
Yep. You also had an anniversary recently.
I did. My anniversary was this past weekend, which is what I was doing, thankfully, instead of watching the Atlanta United game live.
Wow. That's a shot.
No, it was great. 17 years, man. So and it's been amazing. And so we went out to I say Atlanta. We're mostly in and around like Decatur and then like Moreland Avenue and stuff, but we just went to a bunch of different restaurants and ate and drank. We went to a place called Wiley and Rum on Moreland Avenue.
Okay.
That was pretty solid. Then we went to Monk's Meadery, which if you're a Renaissance Festival fan, that is the mead that is served at the Renaissance Festival. Really, really good. And then we went to a couple of other different little places. Manuel's Tavern right there. Very, very old school spot.
As you should. You have to get the burger and fries, though, when you go to Maine.
Yeah. The fries, like they're just the classic fries, but they're done so well.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, we had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
So 17 is furniture. What did you – so in doing the tour, I guess you sat on a lot of furniture. So that way that was 17.
In a way. It's actually really funny. I didn't even think about checking that number as far as like what the gift is. We just got a new couch like 3 weeks ago. so I guess it kind of worked out.
So what you do when you're off the air with us is you sit there and you go on a piece of paper and you write happy anniversary, and you just take a piece of tape, you put it on the paper, and you smash it on the center cushion, and you bang, and then you look at Hallmark, and Hallmark says 17 is furniture. So Hallmark says so. Smash it right there on the.
I've completed this year. I'm all set now.
Yeah, and so you have to work, and you have to build toward porcelain, which is 8.
Ooh,
porcelain.
And a nice tea set or something.
Yeah, for a minute there, I thought you were going to say a nice teeth
toilet.
Set. Oh, get your fillers going. I'm like, wait. It's like, man, I had braces, but I got to go to the next step, so I'm going to go porcelain fillers.
Porcelain, here we go.
Yes. So 7 o'clock on the SNS YouTubes and all the other things, and trying to figure out what's going on with you guys there at Scarves N Spikes. I heard now, was there an animal that was out there that was not happy a little bit ago?
There's been a couple of animals out here. There's obviously I'm sure you hear some of the birds tweeting, and then
you got your own like heckle group out there.
Yeah, I know. They're like, hey, Atlanta, what's going on?
Wow.
There was a crow that might have been it a little while ago. That was like right in the ear cacophony of noise. and then there's been a handful of weird cars that went by, so that might have been it too. I don't know.
I'm not going to press that issue. All right. So as always, my friend, great to see you, and thanks for dropping by as you always do, either outdoors or indoors, as you pursue furniture now that you're in year 17. Congratulations on
indeed.
that. Glad that you got to celebrate it appropriately, and we will catch up with you soon, my friend. Thanks for coming in as you always do, bat and lead off on Wednesdays.
Yep. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.
All right, there goes Tyler. Tyler's going to go finish his 38th cup of coffee, and so he'll be in good shape. Dylan Butler slated to join us next couple of minutes, and then it's going to be Mike Gramajo from WESH-TV down in Orlando. We're going to talk about the Purple Team and get our Oppo research on the Purple Team as we get ready for Atlanta United and Orlando City coming up in just a little bit. And we almost had the hot tag. We almost did. We almost had it. But since it is right after 10 o'clock, that means we go and catch up with the man who is so famous that they named a stadium after him. Dylan Butler Estates coming up, the new home for NYCFC. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Apologies. I would have made the hot take, but I got caught at a light. So like it was yellow. I didn't want to go through it. So
how when you're going through the streets in New York City, the evil streets, the hardscrabble streets, they're in Queens and all the other boroughs. How locked in are the cops in giving tickets for moving violations?
I mean, I would say in New York City, the way things are going these days, you've got to do a lot to get pulled over. So like it's got to be like right out of the video game, right? Like you got to roll up on a sidewalk or something, or knock over a few people.
Yeah, that's not recommended. That's neither recommended nor allowed. When you look at, we're now at the quarter pole here.
Crazy, right?
I know. I mean, it's wild. I mean, you have a couple of teams that have made deep runs into the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. One of them anticipated. We figured Messi and friends was going to make the deep run. When you look at the East in general, and I mean, we can start there in and around Dylan Butler Estates right now. Red Bulls are at 9. They're at 12 points. NYC's at 11. Each team's got 3 wins. Kind of, 50-50. They're doing what they're supposed to do at home, and then they're having struggles on the road, which is what is anticipated in Major League Soccer. When you look at what you're seeing with Red Bulls and with NYC so far here at the quarter pole, what sticks in your head?
It's not good enough, right? Like it's not. I don't think. I mean, there's some exciting younger players, I think, for NYCFC who have stepped on the field. Martinez has been good, but they're in a little bit of a rut right now, and Red Bulls what's their identity, right? Like why, other than a fantastic arena to go to, right? Or like why are you going to see the Red Bulls right now, right? Choupo-Moting, Forsberg, like other than those 2 guys, nobody is doing anything offensively right now. So granted, it's a team that is kind of looking to play in a different way, right? Play more with the ball and get more comfortable in a newish setup. But yeah, I would say at the quarter pole, neither teams has impressed at all, right? So
when you mentioned the new style of play that Sandro Schwartz, I think it was late last season when he had the formation change and got everything rolling to the last match of the year, and then obviously you shut things down, you bring in new folks, you have the folks that are carried over. Where is this transition? I mean, does it seem to have been something that has locked in? Is it just still taking time to adjust, even though you're at the quarter pole and the time to adjust is kind of waning quickly, where you better have it locked in or you got to go back to old things? Where do you think the understanding is of what Sandro Schwartz wants to do?
I mean, I think it's there, but I don't know if the personnel is good enough, right? Like that's part of the problem. And it's funny because it's the opposite, I feel like, in Atlanta. Like the personnel on paper is very much there, right? Yeah. Like this is an MLS Cup contender with what's built on paper, but in terms of figuring out how to get those guys to play, in the way that Ronnie Dyla wants them to play, that hasn't happened yet, or at least finding the right puzzle pieces hasn't worked out yet. But I would say it's maybe the opposite right now. It seems at Red Bull, like it's and there's been injuries, of course, as well, right? Lewis Morgan being the biggest one. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, through whatever amount of games, months, whatever it is, they should have that concept down, right? Like they train it every day, so they should have a good idea of how to play. Um, they just haven't been very good at doing it on the field.
How much of a difference does Lewis Morgan make for someone who hasn't seen Red Bulls? How different are they without him? Obviously, we know in the offensive output or lack therein, but how different is it with him out of the lineup? How different is it?
Yeah, he's huge because he's a proven goal scorer. He's out on the wing, a guy who puts in good service, scores goals as well. So I think yeah, for sure. He's a guy who's now you've got that third piece, right? And it's not just your two DPs having to do all the heavy lifting. So yeah, a massive part for them, no doubt about it. And he's been great since he's come over a couple years ago from Miami.
When you look at, and literally it is night and day, but once again, that's not necessarily a surprise. But you look at the two teams in New York City, in the tri-state. Hello, Matt Hassett. Sorry, Lloyd Lindsay Young flashback. New York and NYC combined 6-2-1 at home, 0-5-4 on the road. I mean, that seems pretty stark when you look at it. And, I don't know if I should be surprised by that, once again, considering how competitive but the East is. But with NYC specifically, since we have to call them NYC now, I don't think we can call them NYCFC. I think the branding came out and it's like you're supposed to call them NYC now.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, NYC has actually scored one more goal than Red Bulls have. But once again, it's 11 goals in 9 matches and 10 goals in 9 matches. The offensive output for neither team is there. And the forces are there for Red Bulls, but I don't know where the goals are going to come from really this season at NYC.
Yeah, like I said, Martinez has been good, but he can't be on an island, right? So there needs to be help for sure. And I agree with you. I don't it feels like for the last couple of years, maybe since Tati left, this has been the story, right? Like who is scoring the goals? Where are the goals coming from? Who's the high level number 9, or even in that front 3. So yeah, I mean 100%. That's concerning, certainly for them, this year.
However, apparently, according to Tommy Scoops in the last couple of minutes, NYC is finalizing a deal to sign Australia international defensive midfielder Aidan O'Neill from
Well, then everything is going to be fine.
Yes, from Standard Liège.
Yes.
James Dodd from TalkSport and Sasha Tavalieri are apparently on it as well with Tommy Scoops. Key starter for Standard Liège, 17 caps with Australia, and he would not be a DP. So you need offensive help, and what do? You get a defensive midfielder from Standard Liège. So obviously everything seems to be locked in place. That we mentioned before you came on.
It's the missing piece, clearly.
Yes, it is the missing piece. And San Jose continues to be Revs West, where New England is apparently getting $600,000 plus another 50 in add-ons from San Jose as Noel Buck goes in a cash trade, the intra-league cash trade, where Noel Buck goes from the Revs to San Jose for, it's straight up cash. New England gets a sell on. So this being the last day in the window, you get somebody else heading to hang out with Bruce Arena that used to hang out with Bruce Arena. I mean, it's an interesting deal on paper.
He loves his guys, huh?
I know. It's like, how many dudes was it? Got to be at least half a dozen, I would think, that have now made their way from Foxborough out all the way to San Jose to play at PayPal Park.
Yeah, right. Like Earl Edwards was one. Buck, you just mentioned. There's one. Was it yesterday as well, or 2 days ago? I feel like there was another one as well.
So I'm gonna check the San Jose roster, but then it wasn't it didn't because you had some defenders that made their way over. I want to say that were a part of this thing, and so hang on. Let me look at the roster.
Outside back, no?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was
Name is escaping me.
yeah. So you had DeJuan Jones coming from Crew to help out, and we'll talk about the
Oh, that's what I was thinking more of, right? DeJuan Jones, because he was with him in the Supporters Shield winning team.
yeah. So Earl Edwards in a supplemental slot. Harks, I think. I was then Mark Anthony Kay moved over. I want to say Nick Lima moved over. I'm sitting here and I'm buzzing through this alphabetically, and I'm sitting there going, and didn't Romney spend some time in New England before he was in Nashville? But anyway, it's a handful of dudes.
Yes.
It literally that should be their moniker in San Jose. We're the handful of dudes. So I mean, Bruce is making moves at the deadline, no shock. How tame do you anticipate this window being as it's closing here today, and everyone is sitting there and trying not to be like Macaulay Culkin going up and down the staircase in Home Alone, having to make a deal for the sake of a deal?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see like a major move. I think it's going to be smaller pieces, maybe a loan deal here or there, or another cash type of trade. I don't, I think it'll be more with mostly, I'd say more within the league is my guess.
And I know that RSL might be looking. I know that there are some teams, and I know that one of the teams probably looking to move dudes is Messi and Friends. I know that Julian Gressel has been basically a very, very attractive.
Hold that thought for a second. I have to open the back door here for my wife. One moment, please.
Yeah, so I will filibuster. So there we go. So Dylan's gonna go open the back door for his wife. So Julian Gressel has been a name that has been mentioned, and Gressel basically has been sitting on the bench with Messi and Friends, or just hasn't been a part of the game day roster for the 18s. I know that he is a very expensive piece right now that really isn't getting a whole lot of time. And you look at the salary info, and I just wanted to double check this, where I don't care. I want to proceed to MLSplayers.org. Fine. It's like I've got Norton. I don't know if you've got Norton or any of the software protectors, alleged protectors on your desktop there. But literally, it's like I wanted to go to the players' website, the MLSplayers.org, and I wanted to get the information on Julian Gressel. And so Julian Gressel right now is a very expensive ornament on the Messi and Friends Christmas tree, making $1,092,069. According to that is guaranteed comp according to MLSplayers.org. I'm anticipating that he would be one of those pieces that if Messi and Friends can find a buyer, if they can find somebody in a trade, if you could come up with maybe a pack of Pall Malls, some zingers, and maybe
maybe someone could trade them an international slot so they could have their 87th on their roster.
Yeah, well, and that might be part of it too. I mean, considering I would love to know, and I'm guessing it's Rolson Leahy, who their capologist is. But yeah, I'm hearing that Gressel might be moved. There are MLS teams that are interested. If you want to be saddled with that prorated salary of about $750,000 for the year, then more power to you. I don't know how many teams can handle that and have a high AM player like that. But I mean, folks are apparently allegedly interested in Julian Gressel, and I'm fairly certain that the folks in Fort Lauderdale sit there and go, okay, like seriously, give me a pack of Pall Malls, a Zingers, and a Diet Orange Crush, and we got a deal.
Well, how about some Red Bull maybe in that, because that could be an organization that, I mean, again, the way that they play, they like to get crosses into the box, and we don't know the long-term health of a Lewis Morgan, right? So maybe you bring in a Julian Russell there.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go. When you look at the East, and I know that obviously Messi and friends have other things on their minds right now, and they're only a whole point out of first with a match in hand. But there's that gaggle up top: Charlotte, Cincinnati, Messi and friends, and Columbus. Columbus, I mean, I don't know how many people doubted Wilfred Nancy coming into this year, but obviously getting Daniel Gazdag will help out in that regard. It's like, hey, Philly, Philly, are you interested? And Philly's apparently like, yeah, what's it worth? About $4.5 million. Okay, cool. And you don't know what Philly's going to do to spend with that money, but Columbus, everybody was sitting there being a doubting Thomas. You bring in Daniel Gazdag, and you're like, oh. And they're back to where they were in the discussions. When you look, say, at the top 4 or 5, and Philly trades Gazdag to the folks that are now ahead of them in the standings by 2 points, what do you look to say at the top 5? We'll take it in groups.
Well, yeah, I mean, to start, I agree with you. I don't, Nancy is, far and away the best coach.
Who in their right mind without Wilfred Nancy and his plan?
And I think that was proven on the weekend, right? Like they play Miami and Cleveland, big crowd there, and they were the better team, and they just didn't finish their chances. Certainly Gazdag had a great one that he flubbed, but 100%. There in terms of Columbus, I think I think when you look at the top, right, like when you look at and we could bypass Miami. I mean, Miami's Miami. It's star-studded. They do what they do. But yeah, I mean, like Cincinnati, so impressive, right? Like considering, think about this, right? Like and we talked about it last year. You lose like 27 center backs to injury. You get rid of your most influential, midfielder, one of the best playmakers in the league, and yet, they survive. And then not only do they survive, they thrive, right? Evander is looking like an early MVP candidate. You're getting guys back to health. They're again looking like a potential cup / supporters shields candidate, right? So really impressed right now with Cincinnati.
Do you really care if you have the pie plate? Do you really care if you have the Captain America shield? Do you really care, considering if you win?
Well, that's the whole argument, right? Like it's that debate every year, right? Like I mean, obviously this is an American league, right? So it's about winning the championship at the end of the playoffs, like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
No one cares who wins the President's Trophy in the NHL. It's all about lifting the cup at the end of it. But soccer is a world game, and for what 85%, 90% of the world, it's about what you do in the regular season. So
yeah, I mean, and so if you look at our Twitch pitch, and everybody's kind of like, supporter shield's kind of like, when it comes to since we talked about the good in the East, I guess we can go into the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when it comes to the bad, where is the bad for you at the quarter pole?
I mean, certainly Montreal, right? Like they're at the very bottom.
Or are they the ugly?
They are both.
Yeah.
Now Toronto, I mean, they're a whole different type of situation, but they are starting to get, they just got their first win. They're looking a little bit better these last couple of weeks, right? Montreal has not. The whole thought was, all right, we'll get them back to Stade Saputo, and they'll look better. They'll be home, and they've not. And DC, despite their win at Red Bull too, still they're not a particularly impressive team either, right? I'm still, like I know there's probably a bunch of concern there in Atlanta, but I still think, you know, again, the pieces are there. I think it's just a matter of, you know, a little bit of time and look, this is a forgiving league, right? Like you win 4 games in a row, all of a sudden you move up 5 spots in the table. So, and even New England too, right? New England wasn't looking very good, and now they've also put together a few results. So,
yeah, and you know, I'm still. I look at Montreal and I'm like, who would go and get that gig? I really, you know, full blown, who would get that gig? Who would want that gig? Obviously, it'd have to be an up and comer, or someone who Joey Saputo won't treat like it's Liga MX, you know. And it's like, okay, you've been here 3 months and I don't like it, and you're gone. I mean,
is there like a Bobby Saputo out there somewhere? Like who's gonna get the job?
I mean, literally, it'd be like, so if it's not Joey, it's like you figure out, it's like, okay, hey, look, can you like you
like
want
Jacques Saputo?
Jacques Saputo? It's like, here's my long lost brother Jacques, and so he's gonna hang out. He's like, wait a second, he looks a lot like you. It's not me. It's not me. You know, like the fake Bobby.
It'll be like Bobby Valentine, right? A few years ago.
Yes, Bobby Valentine mustache. He comes in with the glasses and the CF Montreal lid. I'd like to, you know, and it's one of those split screen zooms. It's not a live presser. It's a split screen zoom, and they treat it like they do in the Olympics, where Joey Saputo, he's talking in like real time, and then Jacques Saputo comes in and he just kind of, here's our new coach. His name is Jacques, and he's wait a second, is it just Jacques? Yeah, it's just Jacques. No, wait a second, he looks a lot like you, Joe. No, it's not me. That is not me. Not happen. No, it's not me. You know, it's an environment where Montreal ain't doing all that great. Robin Fraser, from all indications, can take, you know, he can take like broken matchsticks, a mason jar, some rubbing alcohol, and, you know, maybe a couple of large rocks that he finds on the sidewalk, and he can actually do something with that and MacGyver his way through a season. But I don't know if that means, I don't know what that means in Toronto. I don't know if he can even do that and have levels of success. So for me, I'm looking at Montreal as the ugly and the bad, as you say. Toronto as the bad, leaning toward ugly, despite what Robin Fraser can do. And DC, like I said, I don't know how Troy Lesane made it off the tarmac in San Jose. I really don't. I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
But they, I mean, God, you have to go back how many years now since that club has been relevant, right? Like,
yeah,
and it's crazy because, like, you know, you and I, you know, we're like OG MLS people, so we remember, yeah, we remember the early days and you know, Papa Harks on the field and Ben Olsen and Echeverry and
I know, I was going to say, you think Echeverry's got anything left in his legs? He can help out Lesane today?
Yeah, I mean, probably when Rooney, I guess when Rooney was on the field, right, for a little bit.
Yeah.
You had him and Lucho, right? Doing their thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they've not been good for a while.
Berhalter in Chicago, what have you thought so far?
Yeah, I mean, the results lately haven't been there, right? But I'm not concerned. I think, you know, that's another one where, you know, he's got some pieces, he's got a style, and they're adapting to that style pretty well, right? Maybe the opposite of what's happening at Red Bull. So, yeah, I think it's been good. I think it's, I mean, talk about another dormant organization, right? Like you'd love to see Chicago sort of rise up a little bit in the East and become, you know, a team. And again, it's been multiple years since they've been a relevant team, even longer maybe than DC, right?
It's just, you know, Greg Berhalter, everybody kind of worries. You're not the kind of guy that likes individuals to have multiple titles on the business card, right?
Who, me or him?
You. No, I know he wanted the multiple titles. He wanted the double-sided.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not I feel like because at some point your attention isn't somewhere, right? Like it's not it's hard in today's MLS, I think, to have both of those on your business card.
So when you're trying to shop at the store and you're trying to have Hugo Kuipers do whatever you want Hugo Kuipers to do on the field, obviously, it would be kind of difficult. But right now they seem to be, I mean, like I said, mid-table, which would be about right, I would think, because once again, you had the big financial purge at the end of last year and not so big Shaq finally left, and you're bringing in folks and trying to get things working there. For me, I don't know if in this land of instant expectations, if we all should sit there and it's like, look, just let the man grow and let him try to figure things out. Or, no, daddy, I want it now. Veruca Salt kind of a thing in Chicago where you're trying to get, things all squared away. I just don't know. And this might be for insert favorite team here in Major League Soccer. You're having to balance instant expectations with reality of results here at the quarter pole.
I think it helps. I think you get both with Chicago. Like, I think it helps that you get some early results to get the fan base excited, but also the realization that you're planting seeds, right? And those seeds have to, you've got to water them, and you've got to, you need to care for them. So it's not, it's not going to be right out of the gate, like a San Diego this year, right, where everything is going so well, and but I do think, so like if they were bottom third right now with like maybe 7 points, I think it would be a much different situation in Chicago.
So you mentioned San Diego, so I'll go ahead and talk about San Diego in the West. Mikey Veras seems to be doing fairly well out of the blocks. I think that the shock factor was there with Dreyer coming out of the blocks, and you had to do it without Chucky Lozano for the first couple of matches. And now you've kind of retreated to the mean a little bit. You're sixth, but you're still in that gaggle where if you get a good week together, you could be as high as second. What have you thought of San Diego so far?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, out of the gate, very, very good, surprising. I think Matt Doyle had a great observation in one of his columns where he's noticed that when they play against teams with two strikers, they've struggled, right? Like they haven't. It's just system wise that their makeup hasn't worked out well against a two striker setup. So that's been interesting, and yeah, they've learned pretty quickly what the rest of us know in MLS. Like it's hard to travel across the country to try to get a result, right? So credit to Charlotte. Certainly they're on top of the East. Obviously a perfect 5-0 at home at the bank. Not as good on the road, but generally who is in this league, right? So but yeah, I think for San Diego it's still better than I think a lot of people expected.
So am I allowed to bring up what happened in the matchup against Aston Villa last weekend, or have you already blocked that out?
Hoping it's a one-off. We're still, I didn't look this morning after yesterday's results where we were third. All right. So fifth, it's still right there.
Well, but I mean, the thing is, literally, there's this group. It's like Manchester City's at 61, Forest is at 60. You're at 59. You had a 4-game win streak snapped with the matchup against Villa. You've got Ipswich this weekend, so it could be a make right. Chelsea's at 57, larger goal difference than Aston Villa at 57. So there's this group between 3 and 7 of 5 teams and 4 points, and you're right in the middle of it.
We are. But that's why I said I'm hoping that was just a one-off. I mean, what they've been doing before that has been outrageous, right? With the goals being scored, and so yeah, there's the hope that the Villa, and then of course the Villa defeat comes, as that it's because now it's like you get to a point of the season where you're watching your team, but then you're watching the other results. And then they're not going your way. Like I was watching Forest the other day. I was like, seriously, come on, Tottenham.
Well,
Just throw us a bone here.
I give Forrest a year and a half before Evangelinas Marinakis has to try and come up with creative financing involving FFP and your profit and sustainability results. That's just me thinking out loud. I have no evidence to the fact, but all this investment, all these players in, all these players out, all that kind of stuff. Give it a year and a half, and I think that he might be having to pick up the phone or get an envelope from DHL from the league office. MLSsoccer.com. What's going on?
Yeah, man. More of the same, right? CCC happening, of course, a huge one out in Vancouver. Should be a lot of fun. And then we move on to the weekend. It was a very, very long night this past Saturday, having 15 matches happening.
Yes.
Thankfully, that'll not be the case this weekend, but
that's not allowed.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's so it'll
not recommended. It's more than your daily allowance.
Yes, your USRDA of MLS.
Yeah.
As always, my friend, great to see you. Is everything okay at the back door with your wife?
Yeah, she's good. She got in. All good.
Just checking. All right, so we'll see you next week, my friend. Congratulations on surviving spring break. We'll catch up with you soon.
All right, see you.
All right, that's Dylan Butler at MLSsoccer.com, and it's great to have him on. And now, like I said, I don't have like horns or like like they used to have in like the old medieval movies when you go into the big viewing hall and you have the dudes with the horns and they make the big noises and they the person that comes in and wants to walk down the aisle as only they can look, you get the proper trumpet entrance. This is the first time that Mike Gramajo has been on with us to talk about the purple team. And so Mike, for those of you that might remember, he had his own show in Orlando, and that was on your favorite podcatchers. And now he's been hanging around Orlando, and now he has gone to the evil side. WESH-TV, he's on the TV side of things. Mike, welcome aboard. Great to have you here in the morning show.
Thanks for having me on. Obviously, talk a little bit about some football this morning and what we have going on this weekend, because it's gonna be a nice little rivalry match between both teams that are struggling a little bit right now.
Yeah. I don't know if folks know about this rivalry with Atlanta and the purple team up here. I don't know. It's just one of those things. How did you end up? For those that don't know your history, how did you go from your own show and then over X number of years working your way over to WESH-TV? How did that path happen for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I never would have expected me moving over to television, but I guess you can kind of blame the pandemic for kind of resulting into that shift. Because I was obviously doing my own thing. I was also in a newspaper as well, and obviously the pandemic came, kind of just changed everything. And I guess just for me in general, I had to make a quick adjustment if I wanted to continue doing what I love to do, which is cover sports, cover soccer. So interesting enough, I didn't really go straight to WESH-TV. I was at Telemundo before that. So not only was I jumping into television for the first time, I was also jumping into Spanish media at the same time. Two things that, like I said, I never thought I would have been. I never imagined myself being in that type of environment. But it happened. I was there for 2 years, and then I've been at WESH-TV now for 2 years as well. And it's been really cool. It's been really great kind of being able to still cover the sport, cover soccer, cover other sports as well, and other news that happens around Central Florida. And it's been fun. It's been fun. I can't really complain at all.
How different is the storytelling, say, from your time at Telemundo on the TV side and having to do things in 3 dimensions to now being over at WESH and having to do things in 3 dimensions when you're talking about soccer?
It's not really that much of a difference. I think obviously the language barrier is always going to be the I guess what you can kind of put, oranges and apples and kind of say, but because at the end of the day, sports really is a universal language. There isn't really a said spoken language when you're playing sports. It's I guess orchestrated harmony when you see something kind of unravel on the field. And when you're able to kind of communicate that, whether it's English or Spanish or Portuguese or Italian or whatever other language, it's really understandable. So, but it's been a fun vertical. I can kind of say that because, it's it was new to me at first, but once you get the ball rolling, it's like you're riding a bicycle. It's, you have to kind of, take away a little bit of that rust off, and then you feel like a little kid or a teenager riding a bicycle down a hill, and you're hoping you don't crash into something.
That's me. Full disclosure. Junior year of high school, so back in the 1790s when I was in high school, I used to do 4 miles in a circuit when I was playing baseball in high school to try and stay in shape in the off season. So me, Mr. Off Season Training. And so what I would do is I would go through my subdivision. I had a 4-mile circuit and I had a 10-speed. And so in story time with John, I feel like I need to have a lower third here to sit there and go story time with John. Then one day I got bored, and toward the end of the run, it's a 45-degree downhill. And I'm thinking, hey, I wonder if I could keep up with the rotation of the wheels with the pedals and pedal at the same speed that I'm going downhill. It worked for about 500 yards.
Oh.
And then my left foot slips off the pedal of the 10-speed, and I end up doing this bit through a 2-lane road in a subdivision and jackknifed. Broke my leg, broke my fibula. Doc said it's one of the worst bones and one of the most worthless bones in the body to break. So I know about riding a bike. I know about wrecking the bike, and I know about being on a 10-speed. So to carry my analogy forward, when it comes to telling the stories that you have the chance to do now with WESH, how much space do they give you? Do they sit there and it's like, no, it's all yours, you go for it? What parameters here are you given when it comes to the amount of coverage, A, that you can do, and B, that you want to do, I guess?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I like that analogy to kind of, I guess draw the question, right? The good thing is my bosses there, they kind of knew what one of my strong suits were, and that was covering soccer, especially Orlando City. That was probably one of the, I want to say it's one of the things I brought forth to the table when we were doing this interview process. But they also kind of knew already, just I guess from the reputation I've been able to kind of build throughout the years, that I was the soccer guy. I was the guy covering soccer in Orlando. So they obviously wondered, or are you planning to bring your coverage over to WESH-TV? And I'm like, well, of course. I mean, unless you guys don't want me to. If that's the case, then I will be a little heartbroken, because there's something about just covering soccer. I grew up playing the sport. I always wanted to really just be part of the sport. I think maybe I wanted to play it at one point, but then after high school, I was like, yeah, maybe this is not going to be something I can pursue professionally. But I always wanted to be part of the sport. So that's one thing I really brought forth. I was really kind of determined and poised to bring what I can bring to the table. And it's been like that the last 2 years. Whenever it's really anything, when it's we're talking about interesting storylines that are happening throughout the MLS season, the playoff runs that Orlando has been able to kind of go on. Whenever Messi has to come to, he hasn't been to Orlando just yet. He's already missed 2 games already. But whenever there's that type of coverage there, I have colleagues that really look at me that kind of, they want some guidance on how to kind of pursue that as well. So there's been a lot of freedom there, a lot of freedom there to kind of do what I want to do with soccer. And then, whenever there's a point where, soccer and local news kind of intertwine, I'm able to collaborate with other colleagues as well. So I can say freely that it's been fun, and they've been giving me that empowerment to kind of do what I can do with soccer coverage over at WESH.
3-2-4 out of the blocks at the quarter pole right now, 7th, and you're in, I guess, that second group behind the peloton right now in the Eastern Conference. How would you grade what you've seen so far with the purple team?
I'll have to say this season has been. Well, obviously we need to, I guess, put perspective in. It's still early in the season. It's only 8 games into the regular season. 10,
8, 9, yeah.
8, 9. So it's still really early, but if I had to give them a grade for how things are right now, I'll give them a C+. Just for various reasons. This team started really well offensively. They were just scoring off the bats, and I mean that was really in when you just look at how the team's been offensively the last 3-4 years with Oscar Pareja. When Oscar Pareja's teams, they really don't start the season scoring as consistently as they did earlier this season. However, this team was a little unbalanced, and it continues to be really unbalanced because now defensively they've been defensively they started off the season really, really, I don't want to say really bad, but they were just letting in really cheap goals. They were scoring, but they were letting in really cheap goals. Now we're at this point of the season where they're not scoring. They haven't scored in 3 games, but defensively they've been really, really good. They've been able to hold keep the opponent from scoring during those 3 games. But there's also been other things you need to kind of throw in to kind of see where I'm coming at. Discipline, when it comes to discipline, they haven't been that sharp. They've had 2 games already where they have players sent off. They had Rodrigo Schlegel sent off in the Philadelphia game, and then you had Rafael Santos sent off in the last game. And really, that's kind of just been, you ask any coach that you don't want to see that, because you're forced to adjust to the circumstance at hand now, right? So there's that. And then you also add in that the team's been missing their starting midfielders in Cesar Araujo and Eduardo Atuesta. So Oscar Pareja has been forced to kind of adjust to that as well. So, a little unbalanced. They're not scoring right now. Defensively, they're sharp, but it's going to be interesting to see how it really kind of develops into the Atlanta game on Saturday, because obviously Atlanta hasn't been scoring as well either. So really interesting to see how that really unfolds.
You mentioned the midfield. Last time out against Montreal, it was Angulo, Girbay, Thorhalson, and Pasalic. How do you anticipate Oscar Pareja's lineup looking, say, in that attack? Because the back line was Smith, Janssen, Bracalo, and Freeman in front of El Pulpo, Gillespie last time out. How different do you anticipate the midfield buffering Ojeda and Muriel coming up this weekend?
I don't think it's really going to change. It is worth noting that the game before last weekend, Cesar Araujo and Eduardo Atuesta were listed as questionable. I have a feeling they are going to be listed as questionable again. It's been a slow, really progression into the squad with their injuries. It doesn't seem like it's long term, but the team is really being really precaution on when it comes to how they want to deploy them. In fact, I think Oscar Pareja said last week that they're going to be game time decisions, or they're going to decide the Friday before Saturday's game whether they're going to play them or not. If Cesar Araujo and Eduardo Atuesta are not available for this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dagerdan Thorhalson and the rookie on Jaron Girbay also back in that midfield. They've been really good. But when you look at the back line, now you don't have Rafael Santos because he is missing. He's suspended for that game. Oscar has been deploying David Bracalo as the left back. You're going to have Rodrigo Schlegel back because he's back from suspension. So you'll have Rodrigo Schlegel pairing out with Robin Janssen in as your center backs. And you're having to have Alex Freeman on your right back as well. So not much changes. That's if obviously we don't see Cesar and Eduardo Atuesta back. If they are back, obviously one of them are going to be plugged in, and you're going to see either Dagerdan Thorhalson or Girbay being pulled. But offensively, I don't think much changes are going to be. The changes are being created. They're just not really being really critical or having that killer punch that put things away. So not much changes, but obviously some concern if obviously the team is not able to score. Again, I think you're going to have to look at how do you kind of how do you address that issue? Because to go 4 games without scoring, that will be a huge concern.
Yeah, goalless draws with Orlando, goalless draw with Red Bulls, goalless draw with Philadelphia. So basically you have to go back to the match on the 29th of March against LAG to find the last time that Orlando scored on their own. So, all right, so I'm going to put you in the role of opposition offensive coordinator.
Okay.
You are looking at the lineup that you anticipate for Orlando City. How would you formulate an attack to go against Orlando City to take advantage of what you've seen out there What do you think would work offensively against Orlando City? And then we'll go to the flip side on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, if you're able to really kind of, in a way, break free from the midfield, and we're talking about Orlando's midfield, right? I'm going up against Orlando.
You're going up against Orlando. You're going up against the team that you know. I need you to go up against the team that you know and score on them.
I mean, if you're able to break down the team's midfield, I think that's good enough there to really kind of create some chances. I mean, the team's been defensively really well the last 3 games. They've been able to keep, the clean sheet on their end. But I mean, what's really hurt Orlando whenever it comes to them conceding is just been really silly decisions. If you're able to really pressure them and force them to give up the ball and penetrate somewhere in that final third, I mean, that should be what could get Atlanta a goal against Orlando. The team's been really, really shaky when it comes to them feeling pressure on their own defensive third. I can't even see that them being. They don't really look that confident when it comes to that. It's interesting because when they played against the Red Bulls just a few weeks ago. It was weird because you're known to seeing a Red Bull team that is a really high pressing team, and we really didn't see that from the Red Bull team, and Orlando was able to exploit that. I think if the Red Bulls would have been able to kind of bring in that type of play that they're known for, I think it could have been a different conversation we'll be having right now. But if you're able to really break down the team's midfield, especially if you don't have if Orlando doesn't have its starting midfielders playing this weekend, and you're able to force your Orlando's defenders to kind of just give up some easy balls, and you're able to kind of just capitalize on that, I think that should be really what could get Atlanta on the score sheet at the end of the day. Just considering how things have been with Orlando defensively when it comes on that regard, if anything.
All right, so Orlando on offense going up against Atlanta. View the strengths in your own mind, and you can take it either way if those players that are day-to-day, aren't we all, are in the lineup, or if they're not. And if the philosophy is different, then go ahead and address it 2 ways. But Orlando's offense against Atlanta's defense, how would you see success for the purple team in that regard?
Yeah, they're gonna have to be really killer. I mean, they're able to create chances. They're able to break down. They've been able to break down defenses. But when it comes to that final pass and really just delivering that final punch, they haven't been solid at all. Obviously, if you have Marco Pasalic, if you give him enough space to really get a good shot in, because he does have a killer left foot, I think that would be it. Luis Muriel has been in a really good start so far. He hasn't really scored in the last 2 games, but he is kind of coming into form after a really disappointing first season last year. I think if Luis Muriel is able to also find that space and really kind of just find his way into the area to really finish it off, that should be good. Then you have Martin Ojeda, who's really playing probably his best season so far since joining Orlando. If he's able to really just find spaces to deliver balls into the area, and he's able to connect it with either Luis Muriel, Marco Pasalic, or even Alex Freeman, who occasionally goes up top and really kind of just contributes offensively. I think if you're able to kind of see all those connecting dots come align, then I think that could be what could really kind of just end this little scoring drought that Orlando's going through, just because it's been a really frustrating one, especially for Oscar Pareja, if anything.
So since you mentioned Oscar Pareja, it was something that happened a couple of weeks ago that was somewhat uncharacteristic of the front office. They actually committed to a decision involving Oscar Pareja without waiting until the end of the season or beyond the end of the season to sit there and say, yeah, you're coming back, or no, you're not. Oscar Pareja got locked in. So what's it like to have him locked in, knowing what his future is going to be, and it not be in doubt at the end of every contract cycle?
Well, he played it really close to the chest, because I asked him about a week ago before that announcement came in, hey, you're your last year of your contract. Have discussions even started? Like what's because we know in his last previous contract, the one that he extended, that it's ending at the end of this year, those conversations didn't really happen until the end of that season. And he said that he even said that he's coming to an agreement with ownership that they will start discussions after the season. So when I asked Oscar last week, where are you guys now with the new contract, considering actual contract is going to end at the end of the season, he really did a good poker face because he said, we haven't really, discussed anything. In full focus right now into the regular season. So to see him really get awarded with a new contract, I think it's pretty positive because there is a long-term vision that the ownership group has here with Orlando. And you have to give credit where credit's due. Oscar really has turned things around for Orlando, considering how things were for Orlando when he first joined the league. I mean, it was a lot of growing pains for Orlando. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Those are really bad seasons. 2019 was probably the worst season of all, especially when Atlanta was still kind of new and they were just not letting Orlando win and really giving Orlando a hard time. So when Oscar Pereira came in the 2020 season, obviously the focus was, can Orlando finally make the playoffs? They never made the playoffs. Can he finally make the playoffs? And Oscar's delivered in the last, he's made the playoffs since 2020. So that's what, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5 consecutive seasons now he's made the playoffs.
Yep.
So he's delivered on the trophy front, if anything, because obviously trophies also is, if you can you win silverware, that's also part of the conversation. He's won the Open Cup in 22. It is worth noting as well that he was in the MLS's next final in 2020, apart from making the finals for the first time. But you've kind of seen a gradual growth with the team in the last years. 2023, they finished second in the Supporter Shield standings when I don't think no one in the local media here in Orlando expected Orlando to finish that high, especially after a really slow start. And then last year, another slow start, but somehow they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, is this going to be the year they make MLS Cup? That's the big question mark. But there is a lot of other things happening. They're competing in Open Cup in a matter of 2 weeks against another rival in the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Can they win the Open Cup again? They have Leagues Cup. So there is a lot of hope. There's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of pleasure when it comes to how Oscar's been able to kind of really manage the squad and really make this team a competitive team in the league after really bad years to start their MLS years. And you also have to give credit to the front office as well, and Luis Muzzi and Ricardo Moreira, who they've been able to kind of really address certain spots that need filling and sign players that are suited for this team. So it's been a collective effort. It's been really good on Oscar to get that contract because he's definitely changed the culture around. There's something about him that he likes to integrate the academy players a lot, considering they all train under the same roof.
Yep.
And the academy's also been kind of reaping their own benefits as well. I think the under 18 squad won the GA Cup this past weekend as well. So that's all a credit to really just the coaching staff that's at the training grounds and really just putting in the work and instilling a winning culture, if anything.
And we get to see OCB when they get to run up against Atlanta United 2 here on the SDH network. All right, cut the promo for me. Let everybody know how they can keep in touch with you and all of your coverage there at WESH-TV.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Twitter X over at my handle is at by Mike Gramajo. I'm also on Instagram, same handle at by Mike Gramajo. I'm usually at trainings every week. I'm following the team. I'm really just sending out updates as they come. And I'll be at the game on Saturday to see how this really unfolds. It's going to be a good game. Orlando usually always put up a good fight. And I'm hoping one team can score because I know both teams are lacking on that front right now. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm always here to kind of talk football with you guys.
Anytime. Mike, consider this your open invite. And so if you ever want to drop in the hour of chaos on Fridays at 10 o'clock, say your piece. And it doesn't have to be a week where the purple team's playing Atlanta. It could be a match update. It's like, okay, here's what I know coming in. So hour of chaos, Friday at 10 o'clock. You've got the invite. You've got the keys. You can open the door anytime. So thanks for coming by, giving us the opposition research on Orlando City. Be good, my friend. May the producers on the news side give you all the time that you and Darren need when it comes to letting everybody know what's going on down there in Central Florida at WESH. Thanks for dropping by, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Thanks for having me on. Have a good one, guys.
All right, that's Mike Gramajo, and he's at WESH-TV down there in Orlando. And it's good to be able to get this kind of opposition research every single week. So literally we start banging on doors Sunday, Monday, and it's like, okay, hey, you want to come on? And everybody's like, no, I'm not, no, seriously, but no, to get this kind of opposition research, it's always important. And it's going to be fun this year as things continue to grow. How we get the opposition research, who we get to bring in, who gets to come in, and who wants to continue to talk about stuff as we go forward here in the 2025 MLS season. So that's at Mike by Mike Gramajo, Gramajo. Like I said, had the Orlando Soccer Show, was at the Orlando Sentinel, and you heard how he went from that to Telemundo locally, and now he's over at WESH-TV in Orlando, giving them all the soccer content because it's what it should be. It should be all soccer all the time down there at WESH. All right. Let's see. So before we get out of here in 10 minutes, we've got to find out everything that's going on. And so there was one of the stories that I wanted to. Did it end up in here? I thought it ended up in there. Where is it? I thought it was. That's silly. Okay, so it didn't end up in here. That's weird. That's really weird. Okay. All right. No. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. So I thought it uploaded anyway. So maybe it doesn't upload in certain situations. All right. So I thought we were going to be able to. I think I know what I have to do. I think I have to log back in as me, because what I wanted to do was play a little bit of the Greg Garza interview from last night, if you missed it, on Atlanta Soccer Tonight with Jason, and let you know what that conversation's all about. If you missed it at Atlanta Soccer Tonight in its entirety, you can go back and you can listen to it on the Off the Woodwork section of your favorite podcatchers, or go just to 929thegame.com, go to the Off the Woodwork section in sports, and then you can hang out there and you can get all the content that we help them out with, all the content that Jason's on with 929 The Game, all the pregame shows and the postgame shows and all those kinds of things. You can hang out there, and you really can be kept as up to date as humanly possible when it comes to anything and everything going on involving the beautiful game and how it rolls. Okay, so let me see if I can do this correctly. So video storage. Do I have the 10th one here? Yes, I do. All right. So it is here. No, I don't want to do this. So now, all right. So if I go haywire, please excuse me if I go
that
haywire
is something
here, but,
that
there we go.
Now understanding and learning what competitive stress is, man, there are so many factors to it. You have to then think about, you are in an environment every day where it's an everyday performance that you have to perform in front of somebody who is judging you. You are competing with your best friends for a spot. You are playing the game in front of thousands of people and fans for money. You are trying to take care of your kids to play for the next contract within the next year. And there's so many different factors that I think competitive stress can come by. And we give great examples within the league of guys who might have some family issues going on, or, somebody might be, passing, or somebody might be sick, or all these different things that can be another layer of pressure and competitive stress. And that guy still has to perform at a high level in front of thousands of people. So, there's a lot of things that us on the outside, we are not able to see what these guys are really going through within their personal lives. You have to remember that professional athletes, they can't just take a couple of days off, right? They can't pull an Onana like Amarim and just be like, hey, dude, you need a week. And I wish sometimes it could be like that. But for the majority of these guys who are, playing the sport that they love for a living, that immense amount of pressure and competitive stress is every single day. So that's something that I've learned, actually over the past couple of years, that there are different levels and factors, especially the external factors, that can determine that competitive stress. And we have to remember, as a fan and somebody on the outside, that we have no idea what that level of competitive stress that guy might be going through in that moment. And it can determine the types of decisions that they're making on the field. It can determine the types of maybe reactions that they have that they're making on the field. So I think that's a huge piece of it that I've learned now being retired from the game. But, sometimes when you see some teams that are struggling at times, you kind of often wonder what might be going through their individual minds, what might be going in the sacred locker room, what might be going on in so many different other external factors that could be connected to that competitive stress and that anxiety.
And so there you go. That was part of the conversation that Jason had with Greg Garza. So if you missed that, then go back to and on competitive stress. And that was one of the key conversations that they had early on in their conversation. So go back to Atlanta Soccer Tonight in the Off the Woodwork section, 93.9 The Game in the Odyssey app, and you can catch the full conversation that Jason had with Greg Garza. And Friday, we'll hopefully catch up with either Mr. Garza or Mr. Parkhurst and find out what's going on at Beyond Goals Mentoring, Rhode Island FC, and all points in between. So very, very cool stuff there as well. Okay, got a handful of minutes to go, and we do have we have a transaction in the world of Major League Soccer, in addition to everything that we have been looking at and keeping an eye on this morning. It appears now Houston has signed forward Toyosi Olasanya on a full transfer from St. Mirren and signed a contract through June of 26, club option through 28, pending receipt of the ITC and the P1 visa. Joins after 67 appearances with St. Mirren in the Scottish Premiership and since joining that team in 2022. And 14 goals, 3 assists in league action with the club, helping St. Mirren finish 5th last season, currently 6th in the year's standings. Upon his departure, Olasanya leads the team with 8 goals this season. So St. Mirren forward Toyosi Olasanya to help out Houston and to help them out when it comes to their offensive woes. And so we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see if anything else happens today. Last day of the window when it comes to anything and everything going on in Major League Soccer, with the deadline day wrapping up today. So also on the board there it is. We got to get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and we'll let you know what else is going on in and around the world of soccer. Once again, tonight, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick, Atlanta United 2, Carolina Core. That'll be over at our Mixler channel, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, and it'll be on the Mixler app. We are efforting a high school game. We've got one in mind. Set your notifications. It'll be a late afternoon start, and it'll be on the Deuce. So SDH 2, hopefully we'll have a high school game for you later this afternoon. We'll keep you posted. Set your notifications with SDH on all of our social media, and it will be before the game in the perfect world will be over before Atlanta United 2 and Core, but you'll have both channels up and running with a high school match this afternoon. So high school match on the Deuce, Atlanta United 7 o'clock pregame. That's on the mothership at soccerdownhere.mixler.com and on the Mixler app. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And we'll let you know what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before we get out of here. Once again, at noon, soccer's in session, day 2. It is day 2 of the first round of the playoffs, and we'll catch up with the coaching staff at Lincoln County. I know we're going to have Will Homskis. We'll see if we can get Coach Hayslip. So it'll be the law firm of Homskis and Hayslip talking about everything Lincoln County as they come from Lincolnton after our interview's over, and they head to Atlanta to play in 2 separate locations and make sure that they are playing both on the boys' side and the girls' side. Boys are playing at Silverbacks Park against Atlanta Classical. Girls are playing at Morrow High Stadium and Steel Road Stadium, Morrow High School and Steel Road Stadium, taking on Elite Scholars Academy. That is Class A Division II. After them, it is Bobby Jaworski from GMC Prep, and then Dr. Nathan Dooley from Perry, because Perry is playing Druid Hills not once but twice in Middle Georgia today, 5 o'clock kick, and we'll catch up with all of them. Take you through your brackets, take you through your results, let you know who advanced, all the things. We'll let you know what's going on at Soccer's in Session coming up at noon Eastern time. All right, so your gossip. Manchester United looking to make Victor Osimhen a target at Galatasaray, where he's currently on loan from Napoli. Stop transfer target this summer. United also hoping to pay this is what we talked about yesterday. Hoping to pay the Mateus Cunha £62.5 million release clause in installments. Wolves are open to splitting the payments. Okay. Arsenal, Newcastle, and Forest have all registered interest. I'm guessing if somebody comes to them and sits there and says, hey, you want $62.5 million in full, Wolves might be leaning in that direction. Villa set to beat Arsenal and Manchester City to the signing of Rosenborg's 18-year-old U21 midfielder Sverre Naipan. United also plan to trigger the £30 million release clause in the contract of Liam Delap. That's from the four-letter paper. Ange Postecoglou likely to leave Tottenham even if they win Europa League. That's from the Telegraph. Bournemouth's Andoni Iraola, Fulham's Marco Silva, and Scotty Tuhati. Scott Parker from Burnley, potential candidates to succeed Postecoglou. Once again, four-letter paper. Remember, Bournemouth is trying to do everything they can to keep Iraola. Bayer Leverkusen have held talks with Manchester City over a deal for James McAtee. Lee Carsley, Danny Roll, Russell Martin are on Leicester's shortlist should they sack Ruud van Nistelrooy. Chelsea joined the race for Porto keeper Diogo Costa and will challenge Manchester United for the signature of the Portuguese international. Manchester City also eyeing Costa, eyeing him as a replacement possibly for Ederson, who's in talks with clubs in Saudi Arabia. Newcastle interested in Strasbourg's 22-year-old Dutch forward Emmanuel Ameja. Everton interested in Feyenoord Slovakian center back David Hanko, but face competition from Juve, Atletico Madrid, and Bayer Leverkusen. West Ham and Mohamed Kudus know that Kudus is a top target in the Saudi League for Al Nasser. Al Hilal is interested in Rafinha at Barca. Nottingham Forest have set their sights on Scottish defender Dara Jikiyemi, who is 15. He's in the Celtic Academy. City, Liverpool, Arsenal eyeing Florian Wirtz at Bayer Leverkusen, valued at about £103 million. Bournemouth's Dean Houston, one of the top targets for Real Madrid this summer. Spurs could move for Marcus Rashford if Aston Villa decide against making the loan move permanent for Manchester United. Manchester United plotting moves for Bruno Guimaraes and Adam Wharton to bolster their midfield. So that is your gossip, your rumor, and your innuendo for the day. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we can do that by going to our friends at Soccer America and checking out the soccer on the TV. And once again, remember, we always try to cover as much as humanly possible. Copa Libertadores on BN, triple header, 6, 8, 30, and 10. Olimpia Peñarol, Independiente del Valle, River Plate, Atletico Bucaramanga, and Fortaleza. 6, 8, 30, and 10 on BN. They also have the Taça de Portugal, Benfica, and Tirsense at 3:15. Get all the BNs. All the BNs. Nuestro Telesitio for the fans. Our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV, Liga 1 Max Pro, Tigo Sports in Central America at Fanati7tz.co/soccer down here. And you get to continue to be a true degenerate when it comes to viewing anything and everything. CBS Sports Network has a midweek match in USL Championship. Harry's going to be watching San Antonio FC, Colorado Springs, 8:30 Eastern. ESPN2, Getafe Real Madrid at 3:30. CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza at 10, Tigres and Cruz Azul. Arsenal, Crystal Palace, the makeup match on USA Network at 3. BN en Español, simulcasting Libertadores and the Taça de Portugal. ESPN Deportes, La Liga. Athletic Club Las Palmas at 1, Getafe Real Madrid at 3:30. 2 to NA Unimas, simulcasting the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. Universo, simulcasting Premier League. BN Sports Connect has a boatload of stuff. Salvador and Primera at 5:25 includes our friends from Alianza. Copa Libertadores, 3 matches on BN Sports Connect, 6, 8:30, and 8:30. Libertad Sao Paulo, Estudiantes Botafogo at 8:30. San Antonio Budo and Vélez Sarsfield at 6. And a half a dozen matches in the Copa Sudamericana. 2 at 6, 2 at 8:30, 2 at 10, including our friends at Mushukruna. Great story from Mushukruna. We'll find out more from our buddy Nino Torres tomorrow. ESPN Plus, 4 matches in La Liga, 2 accessible at 1, 2 accessible at 3:30. Doubleheader in the Belgian Pro League at 2:30 available. USL Championship, New Mexico United, Monterey Bay at 9. MLS Next Pro in the midweek, once again, Atlanta United 2, Carolina Core 7:30. All of these are on MLSNextPro.com. Revs 2, Crew 2 at 5. Real Monarchs and LA FC 2 at 6 Eastern. Sporting Kansas City 2, Tacoma Defiance at 7. NYC 2, Union 2, 7:30. North Texas in the Town at 8:30. Whitecaps 2, Dynamo Dos at 9. Ventura County, Portland Timbers 2 at 10. NBCSports.com, simulcasting Premier League. Paramount Plus, Copa Italia at 3. The Derby, Madonnina, Inter and AC Milan at 3. San Antonio, Colorado Springs at 8:30. Women, DAZN USA. Noon has the Saudi SAFF Women's Cup. 3 o'clock, French Premier League 1. ESPN Plus Women's Super League at 2:15. Chelsea Crystal Palace. FIFA Plus has Le Havre Feminine and PSG at 3. VIX has a triple header, Mexican Liga MX Femenil. America Juarez, Monterrey Tigres, Pumas, and Chivas, all at 6 o'clock. That is a rundown, and that is a show. Wow. Thanks to Tyler Pilgrim for hanging out with us as he always does. Thanks for Dylan Butler for hanging out with us as he always does. Thanks for Mike Gramajo hanging out with us for the first time, and hopefully it won't be the last. Let me say hi to everybody before we get out of here. Morning Four Card, morning Pars, morning Rich, morning New York Jet 3. Let's see, morning Derek. Let's see, morning Alex. Let's see, morning Rich. Once again, morning Pars. And once again, I love that you guys have the conversation that you do in the Twitch pitch. Morning Emilio. Morning Michael Head. Let's see, once again, morning Pars. Morning Sandman, who came in with all of his Messi and Friends fire this morning, and he was effectively discussed back and forth. Let's see. So Pars and Michael Head and Four Card, trying to see who else might be in here. Morning Lokeville. Miami Homers in the chat. Yes. Let's see. So morning Four Card, morning Derek, morning Sharif, first time, long time. Morning Rich. And let's see, $4.5 million. We'll see what happens. And so that is the rundown of everybody who was in the Twitch pitch. And thanks to all of you folks for hanging out with us here this morning on the show. Once again, coming up in about 50 minutes, soccer's in session. We catch up with coaches around the state. Day 2 coming up in the playoffs for the state of Georgia. We'll go over day 1. We'll catch up with coaches around the state. Get you ready for tonight. Keep your ears posted for a matchup in the high school ranks later this afternoon. And once again, set your notifications on all of our social media for anything and everything going there. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks to Tyler, thanks to Dylan, thanks to Mike Gramajo, thanks to you. Back at it in 50 minutes talking high school. Since it is the end of the show, at least this one, it means I get to do this. Mucho Plati, I'll play it safe. See you in 50 minutes.